I'll call the regular village board meeting to order. You all join me in a moment of silence. The village board meeting to order. You all join me in a moment of silence. You know how long the delay is on the audience. Pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Trustee Mann.
Here.
Trustee Gerger.
Present.
Trustee Fountain.
Here.
Trustee Lindhorst. Trustee Mao.
Here.
Trustee Churchill.
Present. And I'm here.
Oh, sorry, Village President Kimley.
Present. Public announcements this evening. Anyone? Okay, now we'll move to public comment on agenda topics. And Ms. Judge will sign up.
My board member both have called.
Oh, before you start, if you don't get up, come up here to talk, it will not pick it up.
Can the microphone go through?
It can.
Two questions. Last night I came to the meeting and the microphones were still not very good. But anyway, the second thing is, are we paying I think it was $23.88 for video maintenance? Is that a year? When we had the YouTube before, we didn't pay for YouTube. Why are we paying for it now?
The software that this camera works with is called Livestream. It costs for a 1-year subscription to use their software, $23.88.
Not a bargain.
Okay. Thank you, sir. We're on the consent agenda. A motion to put the consent agenda on the table.
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Mounts made a motion. To have a second.
I'll second.
Second by Trustee Fountain. Discussion. Here's none, Madam.
Trustee Mann.
Yes.
Trustee Gerger.
Yes.
Trustee Fountain.
Yes.
Trustee Mao.
Yes.
Trustee Churchill.
Yes.
C, old business. Item 1 is a resolution dissolving the Utility Oversight Committee. This is the dissolution. Do I have a motion to put that on the table?
I'll make that motion.
Yes. Trustee Churchill, second by Trustee Mao. Discussion.
I think since we're discussing this in the committee, in the direction we want to go forward with this utility committee, I know that in the present form we're not going to be moving forward with the 3-member, and with whatever direction we decide to go, I think it'd be good to dissolve it in this meeting so that I could actually talk to Chairman Gerger after tonight and however that committee would move forward.
Agreed. Further discussion.
So just to clarify, this would be a motion to dissolve it as it exists today, moving forward with what we have talked about in the committee of the whole.
Right.
This purely is dissolving.
Right.
Yep.
In the committee, and we have on the committee agenda
The resolution.
to how it moves forward.
Yep.
To discuss it then, right?
Yep. Clear it for you. Trustee Mann.
Yep.
Okay. Madam Clerk.
Trustee Mann.
Yes.
Trustee Gerger.
Yes.
Trustee Fountain.
Yes.
Trustee Mao.
Yes.
Trustee Churchill.
Yes.
Item 1 under new business is the request. We have a resolution approving outdoor street permit for a portion of Mulberry Street on March 17th, 2018. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion. I'll second.
Trustee Mao, second by Trustee Churchill. Discussion.
I guess one question I do have, Pat and Chief Foley, are you good with what they have presented as far as the traffic control, making sure we've got a safe environment out there on the public roads?
No.
Okay.
They've just made the request for the permit. They have not submitted any traffic control or.
Are you okay with the request of the permit?
I'm okay with the request of the permit,
Okay.
but they have not met what you call traffic control, Terry.
Or at least has not submitted anything at this point.
They have not.
We do provide in the resolution that they have to provide all of that, the fencing and signage plans, is 24 hours in advance of the event. So we do anticipate, I think, that would be coming.
So if they do not meet what we state in the permit, then the permit is revoked.
That's right. They're only going to be allowed to have this event if they meet all of these criteria. We've got a specific indemnification and event agreement for them to sign that requires them to comply with the terms of the code, requires certain insurance, requires them to indemnify and be responsible for any issues related to the event. And then also they have to provide everything else that's required in the ordinance in terms of the signage and the fencing and cleanup and all that type of thing.
And I assume we have not heard anything negative by the potential people who have businesses or even at home, all very knowing that.
I did check out that residence and business. They are closed on this Saturday, and both residents were going to be out of town. So the requesters of this permit did stop by, talk to them, explain to them what was going on, and they seemed to be okay with it.
Okay.
On with the event agreement, do we want to be more specific on carry insurance? Couldn't they just say I've got $100 umbrella? One of two, because they give the actual. Okay, good.
There it is.
Right. Good. Never mind.
Further questions, discussion?
Trustee Mann.
Yes.
Gerger.
Yes.
Trustee Fountain.
Yes.
Trustee Mao.
Yes.
Trustee Churchill.
Yes.
Item 2 under new business, fiscal year 2019 budget update. Ms. Deerking? While Sherry comes up here, I would like to take note. Recently, we have been notified by the Government Finance Officers Association that our 2017 fiscal year and comprehensive annual financial report qualified and obtained the GFOA Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting. Sherry was instrumental and directly responsible for putting that together. The GFOA started that program in 1945 to encourage state and local governments to go beyond minimum requirements of generally accepted accounting principles to prepare comprehensive financial reports that evidence a spirit of transparency and full disclosure far beyond minimum requirements, and then recognize individual governments that succeed in achieving their goals. So I did want to let you guys know that in our first attempt at submitting our CAFA for that, Sherry has achieved such a certificate. We all
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the staff and all your support and encouraging me to go for that certification. Now moving on with the fiscal year 2018 budget. Right now, we're not as far along as we are usually in the process, since a large portion of our expenses are unable to be determined in regards to personnel costs. We're in negotiations for two of our unions, the operators and the police. So we have some uncertainty about where we're going to be going with the personal service line items. Revenue estimates are completed. General revenue fund revenue is showing pretty much no growth from last year. There are some increases projected for property taxes, local use taxes, franchise fees. However, we're seeing decreases in sales taxes, and that's based on our view of declining sales tax, not just in Chatham, but in Sangamon County as well. The village's share of local income tax is also estimated to decrease, and that's based on the Illinois Municipal League's per capita estimate for fiscal year 2019. So those are the two things that are sort of counteracting those increases that we're seeing in the property taxes and the franchise taxes. So it's pretty much flat in regards to revenue growth. In the electric fund, there's going to be a recommended rate increase of at least 2%. The Illinois Municipal Electric Agency has projected a 2% rate increase that the village will need to pass on to their customers. Also, in the way of the water sewer fund, the water rate will be increasing for the village effective May 1st. We'll be seeing a 42 cent per thousand gallon rate increase that the village will need to pass on as well. And that's what we're looking at as far as revenues. We have done preliminary projections in regards to other operating expenses, and we're just trying to keep those in line with what they were in 2018. The different directors have been asked to review to see if they can identify line items where they can find some room. And as part of the fiscal year 2019 budget, we're trying to put together a capital improvement plan to include in our budget document this year, and we'll be working on that as well. So once we get more information on where we're going to be at in personal services, we'll be meeting either later this month or early next month to pull the whole document together. That's pretty much a recap of where we're at.
We expect a neutral budget, a budget very similar to what it was last year.
And Sherry, what did you say about the local portion of the state tax? I know in the years past we've had cuts to that. Are we expecting cuts again, or do we really know yet? Yes. Yeah.
I have not really. Every year that is always a thing that we hear through the General Assembly, that they're going to cut our share. Usually that has not really come to fruition.
Last year, when the state did pass the budget, it included a 10% reduction in LGDF, and that was supposed to be a one-year reduction. The governor, in his budget ad address this year, did again propose that reduction for 1 year. So we started to take that into account. The municipal league tracks the total state income tax, and then that is what's divvied up among municipalities. A portion of it divvied up by population. So it's generated by what the total state income tax for the state was, and then how that is then distributed throughout.
And then with the capital improvement, I assume those are going to be short-term, mid-term, long-term type of improvements that we're going to be looking at this.
You know, we've talked about a lot of these things, and we've worked on them over the years, but we've never really specifically kind of set it aside and called it, you know, a capital improvement plan. We're going to try to do that going forward.
Okay.
There's an equivalency recognition on the budget document, but there's on the financial report. So we're kind of starting to draw those guidelines and see what should be included in that entire budget document. See where we've not had things included in there. Like last year, we saw a document that's full of charts, graphs, historical trend information, a lot of information that wasn't previously provided with that budget. So it's continuing to build that process. Additional questions for Sherry?
Last meeting, Trustee Mallard had asked what our estimate for revenue from the $2.50 charge would be for this year, and that estimate's $178,000 for this year. Okay, and then Sherry has, I think, sent off an RFQ. Is that what it is for the loan that we would take out for the painting? And I think she sent that information to all of you on which banks she sent it to.
Actually, I did not, but I.
Oh, you didn't? Oh, I thought you were. I thought you had talked about it.
Down Route 4, and they're all there.
I could send you a copy of the RFP and the list of banks. All the banks that have offices in Chatham, plus other banks in Springfield, which is, I think I used the same banks that we circulated the 2017 bond issue to. So I probably went out to 10 or 11 banks between Springfield and Chatham.
He said he talked to a banker and he gave us a compliment on our program.
Yeah, already designated revenue stream. It's impressive. There's no question for Sherry.
Well, I know, and we all hate the increase because it hits everybody evenly. It hits us each in our homes. But, you know, I remember being on the board a couple of years ago, and sometimes we didn't always raise it when we needed to, and we had to do it a much bigger bump because we didn't cover what we should have at the time, so we just let it slide. But, you know, and, you know, 42 cent or 2%, I just remember them being higher than that in the past. And, you know, I think it's good that we're looking at this head on and, you know, increases that we get, you know, we don't just hold back and continue.
Well, both of those increases are what our supplier was asking for. Once again, I think our water department and our electric department will not see a increase of funds to operate internally.
So, if you look at this, with the property tax, you know, that's from growth. So this would probably be a much different conversation, a much different budget process if we didn't have the growth and weren't as attractive as we were as a community, like other municipalities are going through, and what they're going to cut in terms of services for their constituents. So, you know, it's nice that we're at where we're at. Some challenges, but.
Thank you, Chair. I got nobody sign up for additional public comments. Is that correct?
Les, how many fish fries do we have left? 2, 3? Perfect.
Is there additional public comment on the village business? Events, planning commission. Did you say you had no planning commission?
The planning commission was canceled, yes.
ADA transition, 6 p.m. March 20th. Village board, 6 p.m. March 27th. Property meeting, 6 p.m. April 14th. Utility oversight, to be scheduled. Village board, 6 p.m. April 10th. Committee of the whole follows 6:15 on April 10th. And Chatham Police Commission, 6 p.m. May 17th. We do have a need for executive session tonight. We're going to ask you guys probably 15 minutes, I think. Yeah, that's that. You want to do it now? Oh, wait till the end of the committee of the whole to do it with the caveat. I'll be out front. My daughter is performing in celebration of arts tonight, and she reminded me this morning I've missed the last 2 performances. So as soon as I see the schedule and she plays, I'd like to attend that. Sure. Would you like to take care of those now or at the end of the committee?
You can move to the end.
Or do it at the end of the committee? Yes? All right. Yep. Motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion. Second.
Motion by trustee Now, second by trustee Gerger. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Meeting stands adjourned.
Brett is under the village manager update. I have the folks here from Arthur J. Gallagher who are talking about the co-op.
All right.
So they have a 15-20 minute presentation. Okay. So we have Jim's here to be able to talk about some of our engineering things.
All right.
Okay, gotcha.
Roll call for the committee of the whole.
Trustee Mann.
Here.
Trustee Gerger.
Present.
Trustee Fountain.
Here.
Trustee Mao.
Here.
Trustee Scherschel.
Present. Public comments on agenda topics, I don't see any. Consent agenda, do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
I'll second.
Trustee Scherfel first and Trustee Mao seconded. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Or is there any discussion? Everybody's good with minutes? All those in favor?
Aye.
Against? The ayes have it. Old business, we have none. New business, CMT engineering updates.
Okay, a couple of items that we have here. Trustee Fountain had posed a couple of questions to the committee and to the mayor and to Pat regarding some roadway improvements looking forward. One of those items was to receive some direction. SATS is looking for candidate projects for STU funding moving forward for this year for selection. One of the items or candidates that have been brought forward was Walnut. They're in front of Breckenridge, looking at from Breckenridge over to Meadowview Lane. And, to be honest with you, the probably three projects that I would feel that would, apply to that would get more of that regional flavor to it. Obviously, Walnut is, the highest traveled roadway in the Village of Chatham. It's in the middle of town. You have that rural section. It's sandwiched on each side with an urban section, some sort of curb and gutter. We do have some developer funds that are available for the completion of that project as well that are earmarked. So, to me, that one makes sense. Kind of rates up there is one of the, better improvements if we're doing it with someone else's money. I guess is the nicest way to put it. The roadway is in good shape. It's but just from the connectivity and putting in that urban section through there and possibly attracting some future development, that would be one that I would, earmark for, pursuing federal funding and going through that process. The other two that, I had in mind is, Mansion Road is also going to be one of these where as development continues along that corridor. The village, similar to Gordon Drive, is going to be left with a more well-chip roadway servicing, high-end properties and usage around there. But, one of the big detractors to Mansion Road is, in terms of funding, I think there's a huge opportunity for, any type of development to the north of that to help participate in that.
Mm-hmm.
So without having that, funding source or development source identified at this point, I think that's going to be a costly roadway for the village to undertake, to make an impact to those properties at this time. The other one is Gordon Drive going south. A number of years ago, actually probably the last time the village received STU funding was from box culvert and culvert improvements, beneath Gordon Drive, south of Walnut. Once again, some of the detractors on that is it would have some right-of-way acquisition that would be needed to take place. And just the volume of the traffic, while it is burdensome in the morning, I know I take that every day, it just doesn't have the same impact as Walnut does to the community as a whole. So I would concur with Trustee Fountain that Walnut would probably be my front runner in terms of pulling together an application for STU funding to present to SATS. That's due on March 30th, and I'd like to work with Trustee Fountain in moving that forward if the board feels that that's a worthwhile project and a priority for the Village of Chatham.
And on the application, it also sort of gives a scoring mechanism, and looking at that scoring criteria, I would agree that Walnut Street is probably the one that's going to score the highest among those three. Once you run through the numbers, that's what I think it would appear to be.
Yeah, because it does serve as what I would consider a complete streets project. You have possibility for pedestrian traffic, bicycle traffic, and motoring public. Serves all those elements. It provides connectivity through the town, kind of the east half and west half, through that area, and then it does have a potential for an attractor for future development, both on the north and the south side of the roadway that's been vacant for quite some time on some of those infill areas in town. So from a scoring standpoint, I believe Trustee Fountain's correct on that. It does have benefits beyond just moving traffic. There are, far further reaching community benefits in making that improvement. While it's not, dire that the roadway be increased or improved at this point, it's just one of those, really nice wish projects that would very much complement and connect two parts of the village of Chatham.
Would it also help if we had some local contributors too? So if the local developers on each side were willing to participate towards the improvements on that road, would that add to the scoring also?
I think it would, because, that's one of the things, what do you have as far as the match?
Yeah.
And I think it says, something to the effect, where's that match coming from? So I think if we've got that support, number one, it helps the village, in the overall cost, but it also shows that support.
Grants, usually, if you have a match, it usually scores better if you have more matching. I agree with Walnut, with the development and it being a main street. You said something with the Mansion Road that I just wanted to reiterate. What I hear from a lot of people is, when there's development, a lot of times after there's development, the infrastructure is kind of built afterwards that other areas do. And so I had a number of people say that to me. It'd be nice if the infrastructure was done beforehand. So we know that's an area that's going to be developed. So I just want to reiterate that point that you made with that and highlight it. So if we do have other opportunities, to develop that, so we are ahead of the game. And I appreciate Trustee Fountain and CMT looking at that for us, because it'd be nice to be ahead of the game and have that infrastructure built out earlier. So I just want, plenty of people reiterate that to me. So I just want to share that now.
And the last two projects in there are starting to contribute to it. And I think that's what Jim was alluding to. Until the rest is there, it's hard to commit to it.
Yeah,
especially since, there's vacant area on the north side of Mansion Road that, screams some sort of, large retail type development that has deeper pockets that you're not going to chase away with, some roadway improvements, as opposed to, say, residential improvement where, you need 5 extra feet of roadway. Well, we're not building here. We're going to move down the road to somewhere else. So, there's a fine line on how much you can squeeze and, get to those secondary improvements. But for that type of level of improvement, you're really looking at, some sort of a larger scale commercial retail type development that would help, build out that roadway. But it's something that Springfield sees all the time. I mean, we're working on Archer Elevator Road right now where, there's a bunch of residential development that all backs up to it, doesn't have a direct access to that roadway. So it just kind of, falls through the cracks. And then all of a sudden you have a bunch of high-end property that is serviced by a defunct, roadway that people don't like and want and shouldn't be their main access point to their homes.
Yeah, I have talked to people out there and hear that.
Now, Jim and Jeff, Terry, you guys could probably help on this. If we all agree that Walnut Street is the project that we want to submit to SATS, what do we need to do? Do we need to pass a resolution, an ordinance, voice vote? What would work?
Yeah, do we need to pass this on to the board meeting?
Yeah, this will probably be something that, most commonly you'll see a written resolution.
Well, and I guess the question is, because, the next resolution won't be until April after the fact, is, this is still engineering that we currently have, under contract. And I think if Pat says, okay, yeah, it sounds like the board's wanting to move this way, I would think you could issue a work order. Could he not?
What would you have to put together to get that as a project?
You're right, the 27th, my fault.
Can I get a motion then to draft the resolution for next to be voted on?
I'll make a motion to draft the resolution.
I second.
So
Next meeting.
to to be clear, let's have a resolution to bring forth Jim's recommendation and our support of that recommendation to improve Walnut with the federal funds that will apply.
To put that project on the list, you have to have a set of plans prepared, or a preliminary plan, or kind of a project overview sheet, or
I think it's basically you got the application, and I think there's a few attachments, a location map, possibly a typical section, some things as far as with ADT, working with the Planning Commission, the Salmon County Planning Commission, on the travel demand model. So, yeah, I don't see that being a lot of engineering, but yes, there is definitely a cost.
well, my question was, if we weren't going to vote on it until the 27th, we have to have it in by the 30th. That gives them 4 days. Can we give them in the motion now?
Give him direction.
Direction to go ahead and start filling
Start
out
the process.
Yeah, can we do that via voice?
I don't think you even need to act formally on that. I think that's something that's within your.
Just want to make sure.
Well, I think two other things that look favorably upon this project is one is if we start the application, not only is the application, but if we want to tag some portion of that in terms of engineering, not to say that it's the full engineering design contract budget or whatever, but at least some preliminary investigations associated with it. So when it gets presented to SATS, engineering is ongoing. You can legitimately say that engineering is ongoing with the project and moving forward. I know for a fact the City of Springfield's also looking at Archer Elevator Road, and that is also moving forward with engineering. So, it's more semantics than anything, but if there is active work being done on the project, I think that looks more favorably. The other one too that I think we need to do is start positioning votes with SATS as well, and start making contacts with the county and start looking at that in terms of who's voting for what and when. But
Sure,
that's perfect.
So let's have a vote on the first motion for the resolution.
You've got it already, right? Yeah.
Yes. Amy?
Okay. Trustee Mann?
Yes.
Trustee Gerger?
Yes.
Trustee Fountain?
Yes.
Trustee Mao?
Yes.
Trustee Churchill?
Yes. And then let's.
Who made this? You did.
Yep. And Mao did the first.
Yeah.
And it's to do a resolution for our application process. Now, can we just do a voice vote on giving them the authority to proceed with?
I don't think you need to do that. I think that's. I think there's a clear consensus up here, and Pat can direct that. Good enough.
And Jim, one more thing.
Yes.
Through that stretch, I don't think we need any right of way.
That is correct.
Which to me is another big
Which
plus.
is fantastic, yes.
Yeah.
That's always a plus.
So the next item that Trustee Fountain pointed out said you'd spoken with Jason with the Regional Planning Commission on the travel demand model as part of the STU application. We'll need roadway configuration, lane widths, posted speed limits. One thing that we do have is all that is in pavement rating system or asset management for the roadway. Even if he wants all of it for the entire village of Chatham, that's something that can be made available web-based to him to look at those documents and pull whatever they need in terms of their travel demand model as well. So
I assume that's one of the things you'll do as you work on the application.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So the next item, you're looking at, will CMT have proposed candidates for the $500,000 bond funds, possibly supplemented with MFT? Okay, we did pull together a number of projects, and really the emphasis really leaned towards roadways that had higher ADTs and usages in town. And, typically those were projects that would be the most expensive and most disruptive to do a full repair in the future. So the whole thought with developing the pavement rating system was, here you have this 10 being the best, 0, 1 being the worst, and as if you see these roadways start migrating down over the years from 10s to 9s to 8s to 7s and so forth, if you can keep those in the 4s and 5s, elevated every couple of years. The cost of bringing a 4 or 5 back up to an 8 is much cheaper than taking a 1 and bringing it back to a 10. And you're able to touch more roadways, fix more roadways, and have those impacts. Some of the bigger roadways that we have in town, there are also multi-lane roadways, 2, 3, 4-lane roadways, 5-lane roadways that are very expensive to fix if we let it go too far and deal with it. So, some of the bigger items that we've looked at in town in terms of, size, usage, ADT, and impacts are as follows. We have, Park Street from Walnut to Plummer, and that has ADT, or average daily traffic, 3,500 vehicles, and that has a rating of between 4 and 6 in terms of 1 to 10 scale. And the 4 to 6 rating is on a block by block basis. There's some blocks that are worse than others. Gordon Drive, Walnut to the village limits to the north, that has ADT of 5,200. So that has, or ADT of 5,200 and a rating of between 5 and 7 for those segments. Plummer on the east side of Route 4, from Commercial Court to Ravinia Drive, ADT of 2,900 has a rating of 5 through that segment. And Plummer to the west, from Jason Place down to Ptarmigan, has a rating of between 5 and 6 and an ADT of 3,500. Some other improvements that we've been looking at too. You have patching along Ptarmigan that we've done in the past with some MFT funds, Mansion to Teal, and Ptarmigan has a rating between 5 and 6, another main thoroughfare through town. And then Walnut that we discussed for the STU fundings, from Breckenridge over to Meadowview Lane, and like I said, that was the highest ADT in town at 6,300 vehicles a day.
Which one was that?
Walnut.
Breckenridge, Meadowview.
So the another item, looking at those items, as Trustee Fountain pointed out, we have a $500,000 bond amount sitting out there earmarked towards roadway improvements, and probably about $350,000 worth of MFT funding available for usage. Now, of the MFT funding, part of that goes towards, day in and day out repairs done by the street crew in Chatham. And that covers miscellaneous sidewalk repairs, salt, snow removal, patching, crack sealing, and oil and chip program that Barry Dees with the village, operates and maintains. So, there is a good portion of the $350,000 that's kind of earmarked for that on an annual basis, with the remainder being for roadways. Now, one item that has kind of recently come up since the last time that we talked is, I don't know how many of you have seen the signs along Plummer for the sidewalk being closed. Mm-hmm. Okay. There is a considerable sinkhole beneath the sidewalk that soil is migrating its way down into the storm sewer system and being flushed away. Pat and Shane Hill had gotten a hold of us. CMT went out there, took a look at it, had a company come out and televise the sewer lines, and there are some disjointed storm sewer pipes. There's some pipes that have cracked. The top is caved in. There's migration of construction debris, bricks, sand, aggregate that is at each of the inlet structures in the sag of that underpass that's making its way into the storm sewer system. Actually, we've had 4 attempts now to televise these lines and keep having to have the street crew come out and vector out those lines because they're still filled with construction debris and sand and aggregate. What we're seeing really is, it's a failure of the storm sewer system, pipes disjointed, broken, and poor craftsmanship of the structures themselves. Where along the top, beneath the sidewalk, that material is migrating its way into those inlets and manholes, and then also connections into the pipes into those manholes. So we've got probably about 3/4 of the video taken care of, and have done a preliminary assessment of the repairs that would have to be made to, I guess, stop that migration of those construction debris and materials and repair the sidewalks and curb and gutter inlets in those locations. Our biggest concern with that initially was looking at the retaining wall that's adjacent to, and in some cases below or above the elevation of the storm sewer. So the last thing that we want is that storm sewer to keep sucking material into the storm sewer, flushing that downstream, and undermining the retaining walls underneath that, through that underpass area. So looking at, prospective, repair options, the most cost-effective moving forward is doing an in situ type, lining in the storm sewer through that area to stop the migration of those construction debris materials getting into the storm sewer system and keeping that loss of material from underneath the sidewalk, the pavement, the curb and gutter, and most importantly from the footing of the walls out in that area. And then doing point repairs at each of the inlet locations along that corridor. Pulled together just a quick down and dirty estimate on this.
For you non-engineers, in situ is they bring a truck out, it has a large balloon, goes inside of the sewer line. It expands, they shoot a substance around between the balloon and the concrete that's there, wait till it sets up, deflates the balloon, and then the pipe is back in shape.
So it's like a substance that gets impregnated with resins, plastic resins, and actually forms a pipe inside the pipe, using the pipe itself as the outer form of that, and then the balloon is padded, indicated, forms the inside of the piping, and that piping that's the resin in there actually is structural strength, where it replaces the pipe itself. So even though there is cracked pipe and crushed pipe and disjointed pipe, the inner lining is served and has that deep strength to last, like the served pipe within it. So
the problem that we're facing is the storm rates are at the very, very bottom of the
underpass.
And then that storm sewer is below it and then runs out this way and runs to the creek.
Gravity feed.
Yeah. But the underpass keeps coming up. So some of these areas over here, we could be as deep as 12, 20 feet. We can't excavate down and fix it. It has to be fixed in place. Just storm.
Nope, storm sewer. Surface water. Yep. So looking at the repairs, we pulled together just like I said, a down and dirty estimate in terms of what it would take to repair that and stabilize that situation, and it's in the ballpark of about $175,000. That would come from either the $500,000 bonding money or MFT funding to make those repairs. With things being a little bit non-orthodox in terms of the cured in place pipe or the in situ form pipe, our recommendation would be to move forward with that with the bond money due to the speed of approval and just the non-standard processes that we would use to fix that, as opposed to running that process completely through HIDOT. And I don't know if you would agree. Yes? Okay. To move forward in a timely fashion as opposed to waiting months for approval and signatures and so forth. But we're still waiting on the final video of that, and if the sections downstream of the pipe are still in place and good, we can eliminate a portion of this this improvement. But right now we're assuming that everything through the limits of the walls, retaining wall segments, would need to be improved or fixed. We definitely know the ones down by the sag, and with the failure of the sidewalk, the sidewalk just dropped 2 foot and void underneath. So that is going to be one of the priority improvements that we need to make, in addition to some of the other segments that we're talking about. So going back to looking at the list of items and looking at the $500,000 and maybe $200,000 of MFT money, really what the biggest improvements are the ones that maybe make the most sense is first of all the plumber repairs here at the underpass. but then also looking at Park Street would be probably my next recommendation in terms of the entire segment from Walnut back up to Plummer Boulevard. Based on the low rating, the higher ADT usage in that category, knowing that we're pursuing Walnut with STU funds, that one made sense in terms of priority to me. Looking at the overall scheme of things, plus it also had some connectivity. I believe it probably falls in place with the ADA plan and the priority in terms of fixing sidewalk ramps and drainage structures along that corridor. So kind of killing a couple of birds with one stone with that project. We'd have to rebuild along the side road radius of turn just due to the severe grades coming from Park Street to the side roads there to be able to get the ADA ramps in place and up to snuff per code. But that one seems to make sense, and the range in there is you're looking at about 400,000 to 425,000 improvements, coupled with $175,000 in terms of Plummer Boulevard. My second choice would probably be Gordon Drive, just because of the high ADT. And similar to what the county did north of the village limits a few years back, we would just extend that pavement section and that overlay section south of Walnut and bring that roadway up to place. But that would probably be my second choice moving forward, funding available. What we're hearing in terms of contractors and bids on the street, this is an excellent bidding climate right now. Everyone's looking for work. We're getting fantastic prices on projects all the way along. So, hoping that getting a couple of these things out on the street here early will give us some options to look at what the prices come in and possibly award more work later in the year.
How much would the Gordon?
Gordon Drive.
Question mark? That Mike?
Yeah, 150 to 175,000 range. So that might be a second one if we do get good prices on, say, the underpass repairs and the North Park Street. Gordon might be one that we look at possibly later in the fall and get that on a program.
Okay. Do we take any action on that? Good. Thank you, Gene.
We're looking for a recommendation on projects then for the next meeting. So if we're going to spend that $500,000, we want to get that in the budget and we want to have it directed towards the project. So you guys heard the possible location. We have to fix the underpass. But do you want to go ahead and do Park Street where we can do the whole thing and have new from one end to the other, or do Gordon Drive and then maybe a few other smaller spots throughout the county?
Pass those along. That's just a summary of the projects. One on top is the cost of the 4 projects that we're looking at, and then the one on the bottom is just the underpass cost that we have estimated at this point.
Makes sense.
And
Park makes sense.
take that and see if that's
I would lean towards
agree.
getting Park taken care of.
Yeah.
It's bad.
Yeah. It's bumpy. And it's the lowest rated too, with the 4 or 5.
It is.
Yeah. So, yeah, don't let it get to a 3.
All right.
So we need a motion and a second then, I guess, to get that on the agenda for at least to get the Plummer Boulevard repairs that I would imagine to put together a quick bid sheet because there are multiple companies that do that work. We'll bid it and see what we can get, but we need to get that repaired.
Sure.
Before we start running into a lot of rain.
You're not going to get any better anytime soon. The faster we can act on that, the better. Just like we don't need
We'll put the MFT stuff together for Park Street, but and they'll go ahead and start preparing plans to put together for that too, and to be able to bid that work out. but I'm not exactly sure how you handle that with, is that two separate resolutions?
You don't need
I would think so.
directing the engineers to do what.
To start off
Both
with
of
work
those
then.
are MFT money, so it doesn't take the passage. You can put your RFPs out. You just
We are going to designate some of that bond money for both of those projects.
I don't think we have to do that.
Well, it would be all of the bond money would go to both of those projects. And then if we still needed more money, then we would get it from the MFT that's last.
Probably via the budget.
But yeah, but you're still doing just the RFP, and then you're going to come back with it
Through the budget process.
Yeah.
So
Do we need any motion?
I don't think you do. If everybody's in agreement that those are the projects you want.
But we need the underpass work start for repairs before we get to the budget.
Yeah,
Put it in
we
this-
can get
it's
that.
in this year. It's actually, you budgeted that bond money in this year. Correct, Sherry?
Yes, but
We didn't designate a project.
But you don't have a specific.
project, I'm a little concerned about the wording of the bond document
Okay.
for streets infrastructure, but you know, present project. Then it'd be a person to bond.
Yeah.
If we don't fix the rain, the streets won't get
Just wait till it rains, it'll be a street project.
And I guess, IDOT is definitely picky about what MFT funds are used for, since this is dealing with roadway drainage, along with some other issues that could occur. We would basically indicate that there's no issue using MFT funds for the storm sewer project.
If you think that would fly with MFT, then
But it will definitely take a little bit more approval through the plans and that kind of stuff. So if the bond funds can be used,
That's faster.
I think it would be a faster approach.
Regardless, Jim needs direction to go ahead.
Can we
and
check with our bond-
those
bond
two
funds?
projects?
There may also, in the capital project spending,
Well-
we just got the final numbers on the two projects that we were waiting, and they were even under what we had budgeted.
That's
So there is some extra money in the capital project fund.
as long as it doesn't get much higher than the rest of them, I think we can make it.
Look, what he meant to say was it's got to be lower than your.
Or I'll be building it myself.
You're clear then on the.
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Can we switch over to the insurance?
Sure.
Sure.
Hi, everyone. Michael Morning from Gallagher here, Springfield, formerly McCoo Insurance. As I believe everybody has received a copy of the PowerPoint presentation, I have part of my Sean Hamilton, the private opinion here from our public sector here. And really, the intention of tonight is going to spend a few minutes. Sean's going to give you an overview. I think that everybody, we've discussed this for years, how to better control our rising health insurance costs, and we believe that our intergovernmental cooperative is a solution absolutely what we're considering going on to introduce you to this, and we're happy instead. I'll hand it over to Sean and to Mark.
All right, try to stay in your gentleman's way. So again, my name's Sean Hamilton. Just by way of a quick background, I've been with Gallagher Benefits for just under 2 years. Prior to that, I was a city manager in Park Ridge up by O'Hare and was county administrator in Grundy County. Live in a small town north here called Coal City, where I'm also an elected official. So I say that to say there isn't any question that you guys can't ask that I can't answer. It was nice hearing about your CAFR award. Again, bringing back flashbacks for me. MFT dollars and passing resolutions, all the stuff that I remember. So with the recent partnership between McCoo, who's been your broker for a long, long time, and now Gallagher. Gallagher is the broker of record for a large government health insurance cooperative that's been around since the 70s. So right off the bat, I'm here to tell you the cooperative has been around for a long time. Nobody typically leaves the cooperative, et cetera. So again, I'm going to spend just kind of a high level on the cooperative, how it's structured and how it works, with understanding the caveat that your benefits spend for the village is the second or third largest line item in your budget, outside of capital expenditures and stuff like that. And we just heard from Sherry earlier, right, that we've got some flat revenues and we know we've got some rising expenses. So looking for a way to control our benefit expense is something that we want to take a look at. Currently in the IPDC, that's what the cooperative's called Intergovernmental Personnel Benefits Cooperatives. This is a cooperative that only encompasses your municipal groups, cities, counties, some townships, because there's separate cooperatives that are established for school districts. So I'm not even going to talk about that because this is only for municipal groups. We currently have, as we sit here today, 138 municipal members. So in the presentation, and we've got copies if you guys don't have them, we'll make sure to get them to you at the end. But we've got 2 pages I'm going to show you. This page here is just a listing of all the large ones. I'm going to skip that if that's okay. If you can go to the next slide. And this is kind of small text, and I apologize for that. But here's in general what happens. So based upon the size of your municipality and where you are in the state of Illinois, you are grouped regionally in the state. By where you're located, you would be grouped with a subpool. I just think of it as we call the region. It's called SHEHI, Southern Illinois Health Insurance, right? Real catchy acronyms. If you're in Q-Tip, that'd be the Quad Cities pool, right? So these things aren't that inventive, if you will. But if you look in the subpool that you'd be partnered with, the members that are currently in right now, they're in this part of the state: Collinsville, Effingham, Gateway Center, Glen Carbon, Monroe County, New Baden, Swansea, Trenton, Wood River. That's who's currently in right now. To give you by way of growth of the cooperative, 5 years ago, it was about 60 to 70 members that run the cooperative. We're now almost at 140. Municipalities are looking for solutions to how can we control this rising expense of healthcare, and this is what's been kind of snowballing as a solution. I'm going to be honest with you.
How many belly buttons does the Southern cover?
Yep. So I can't tell you exactly the Southern. I'll just be honest because I don't remember the number off the top of my head. But the belly button question is they're combined with the 138 municipal groups, 19,000 individual employees, and about 40,000 lives or belly buttons. That's where we sit there currently. Okay. And you guys understand, you know, you're in government. It's intergovernmental cooperation at its finest. So kind of jumping ahead a little bit, the 2 primary healthcare providers in the cooperative are United Healthcare and Blue Cross Blue Shield. When we go out to bid on behalf of the members and say, Blue Cross Blue Shield, give us a price, or United Healthcare, give us a price, or MetLife, give us a price on our dental coverage, we're going out for the 19,000, 40,000 belly buttons, not the 60 or 70 employees that are here in the village. So, I mean, just being frank, we tend to get a little bit better pricing, as you can understand, than everybody else, right? So that's kind of how it's structured. When you get a copy of this, just so you know, the dates to the right of each municipality or county is when they officially join, because there's an onboarding process. It takes a number of months, etc. And this may be the 138 they're in now. We're in constant discussions with 20 or 20. We're running all over. I mean, that's just all there is to it, and the growth's been outstanding. So you can kind of move on just if somebody's got the clicker there. So what are we? This is nothing more than a large IGA. Okay, you would transition from being a customer of an insurance company to now being an owner partner. So what that means is everybody that's in the IPBC, there are sub-pools that make up that sub-pool has a board. Each municipality has one representative. The sub-pool self-elects somebody that goes to the full board. They have a representative. There's an executive board. There's a finance committee. The bottom line is this is your organization. We're there as the broker, and we're there to tell you and give recommendations as we would for anything as CMT comes in for engineering, right? It's all those recommendations. But the board members themselves are the ones making decisions. Everything from what coverage we want to include, what do we want our renewal rates to be, and I'll explain that here in a second. So regulated by the state of Illinois, the Department of Insurance. The IPBC has an executive director. His name is Dave Cook. He couldn't make it today because he's up in the Quad Cities tonight in a meeting. So, and that executive works for the members and works for you. We tend to be nothing more than a financial vehicle. And what I mean by that is, as an owner partner of the IPBC, from day one of being in, you're going to start building up reserve positions based upon how you perform within the IPBC. The 138 members in the IPBC collectively currently have $106 million, give or take, in reserves that are their own. So let me use my example as Park Ridge. I had more employees than you all did when I joined. That's how I got to kind of come to this side of the table. I went through the process of joining. We had about 150, 160 employees. 2-year period, I think the reserve position that we built up was, I know it was over $500,000. Don't quote me. Now everybody's going to be different. But the point is, from day one, as an owner partner of this, when you experience those good years and the IPBC experiences those good years, you're going to start seeing fund balance built up in the IPBC. And folks, that's your money. That's given to Sherry, that's reported on your CAFR, on your financial documents. It's your money in your reserve position. Right now, you're a customer. You're not building up anything at this point. So that's a big advantage. That's what we call this a financial vehicle. Those funds that you built up, they are professionally managed and invested. Mishler does half of it, and Fifth Third Securities does the other half. So they're the ones that invest all your fund dollars. The other advantage for you all is, because of your size, without getting into any of the rules for anybody that's below 50 employees, let's just throw that to the side. Because of your size, you can, for the most part, preserve your plan design. So what that means is, whatever your current plan design is, and I believe it's Blue Cross Blue Shield, I'm just trying to go by memory, you could port that plan design as is, as structured, where it is on its own, right over to the IPBC. To give you more comparison, there's 138 members and 400 different plan designs. So this is not a club or a group where you have to join and they say, here's the plan you have to take it or leave it. Okay? The reason you can do that is because of your size. We can spend an hour about if you're less than 50 what you have to do, because the carriers, let's not worry about that right now. And again, as Gallagher, being the broker for the members, we're the ones that take care of the procurement process for you. So, example, we just went out for our procurement process for dental coverage. Happened to be MetLife, happened to be the winner. So all of the carriers, all the providers, et cetera. Again, there's subcommittees that are put together that review procurement documents. We go out to bid and we award those, or the board awards those on behalf of the members. So we're not going anywhere. I say we being, Gallagher just happens to have been the broker since the 70s. The cooperative's been around since 1979. It's not going anywhere. That's the other thing, too. This isn't one of those things that just started 5 years ago. It's been here for a long time, and the cooperative's not going anywhere. So whoever's got my magic clicker, if they could tell you what we're not, this is just things that we're not. We're not one size fits all. We're not the group that says no. We're not a quoting machine. Here's the other thing, folks. We don't, as the IPBC or as Gallagher, we don't run around the state of Illinois, give me a price, give me a price. That's not how this operates. This is a relationship business. This is something that you want to be a member of the IPBC. It takes you passing a resolution, it takes the IPBC passing a resolution. And that's what gets you an owner partner. So we don't run around and want to make sure you understand and just quote business. Where municipalities and counties come to us are from the relationships that we currently have. So the fact that the recent partnership with the COO and with Gallagher has now opened up this opportunity for you guys. So, and again, we say in Sullivan, we're not going anywhere. What are you getting? What are you getting in this? We've got a history of renewals dating back to the 70s. So the other big thing that you're getting is consistency in your long-term health insurance renewals. I say that as this. The 5-year average on the PPO side for renewal is about 2.2%. You don't have an HMO down here, but just if you're up north, you'd have an 5-year HMO is about 1%. So the other thing that you're able to secure by being in the cooperative is you're getting away from the big swings in your renewals, right? So now we can tell our treasurers in the room, our administrators, our finance directors, plan on 5%. And when that renewal comes in, less than that, you're going to look like a hero. But it really minimizes those big swings that, for those that are familiar, your Blue Cross will come in 30 or 45 days and say, oh, you had 62 people, you had that 2 cancer claim last year. Sorry, we're whacking you with the double digit. There's nothing you can do about it. Please sign the renewal docs and figure out what you're going to do in your budget. But that's going to eliminate kind of that uncertainty. In fact, the fiscal year for the IPBC is July 1st, and remember I told you the board votes on the renewal. The board actually sees the renewal 6 months prior in December and January and votes on what they want the renewal to be in March. And when I say they vote on the renewal, here's what I mean. As Gallagher, we bring the board a mixture of what's happening in the marketplace for industry renewals, what's happening with our 40,000 belly buttons in renewals, and then various mixes, 50-50, 75, 25, et cetera. And then that's presented to the IPBC members. And guess what? The members vote on what they want the renewal mix to be. And what the members typically do is they typically look at what the 40,000 boy bugs are doing and take one step more conservative. Because if the renewal comes in a little bit higher than your experience, it's your money anyway and you're building up reserves.
It's the renewal for your municipality, but you're saying we're part of a group.
Correct. So the sub-pools, or call them the regions, they share in the same common renewal. So everybody in Shihai, those 12 groups, have the same common renewal, regardless of plan design. Okay, and then when I showed you the member list, there's big players. Like you have like the city of McHenry County that's got 900 people. They have their own renewal. So it's a combination of mix of individual and groups. And as a matter of fact, if somebody could flip the slide for me, thank you very much. It's small, but let me just tell you this. The other big thing about the IPBC is we are firm believers in transparency. So here's what that means. You will now start seeing, unlike you see now, two things. One, what your claims data all looks like for your employees. PPO, you don't have HMO. Prescription drug coverage, you're going to see it all. And not only will you see your claims experience and what's happening, you'll see the claims experience for every member in the IPBC. So now, as we've had conversations, as an example, say you're getting ready to enter in negotiations with Union X. I have 5 unions in Park Ridge. I know you guys have a couple. And you want to look and see you have like Local 150 here. I had Local 150 in Park Ridge. Give you an example. I'm getting ready to enter into Local 150. Show me all the municipalities that have Local 150. What do their plans look like? What do the renewals look like? Bam, you can see it. What this slide is 5-year renewals for everybody in the IPBC. I know you can't see it. I can't even see it from here. But we'll get you a copy. But you'll be able to know exactly what the renewals have been for everybody. Okay? Not only that. Sorry. Yes, sir.
And if you're going to talk about it a little bit later, then let me know.
Yes, sir.
Is there certain criteria in order for a municipality to be able to join? So let's say you have a municipality who every other day, one day without work accident. You make it 2, we're back to 1. Is there any type of requirement?
No. And even if you talk about, to answer the question about size, who was at Camden Hills recently, they had 5 employees. And then you go all the way to we're having discussions with some counties up north. They have 1,100 employees. So there's nothing there. Here's the other piece. I'll just mention it because I don't want to go through a bunch of numbers with you. Here's the other outstanding thing about the structure. In the IPBC, each individual municipality is on the hook for claims up to $35,000. At $35,000, because we know that that's a standard, Sean Hamilton standard claim, whatever. Above $35,000, it then flips to what we call our catastrophic claims, and then all the claims above $35,000 become a fixed cost that everybody in the IPBC shares. So here's what I mean by that. When you just said, 1 year we got a bad claim, and the next year we didn't. Why should you be punished because this year was the year that, unfortunately, you had a cancer claim or a triple preemie birth something claim, and next year you didn't? So what the IPBC does in the financing structure is, because of the reserve position that we have with over $100 million, we financially fund those claims, 35 to 125. We buy layers of insurance, and then there's stop-loss insurance above that. But now, if somebody were to walk in with a high-dollar claim, it doesn't impact you as an individual member, and everybody in the cooperative shares in that risk. Everybody. So there's going to be years you're going to help the pool. There's going to be years that you're going to hurt the pool. There's an example in here with numbers. I'll be honest. We can go through it some other time, but the bottom line is it's another further insulation of high-dollar claims, because I know what's going to happen. I can't tell you when it's going to happen, but we know what's going to happen because it's just inevitable. So, flip, that's HMO. We can skip that. It doesn't pertain to you guys. You can skip that math there. Yeah, keep going. I think that's for. Oh, stop right here. So again, something you can't see. Don't squint. But this is some wonderful finance directors in the IPBC created. Here's what they said. Give me a one-pager that I could give my oversight committee to tell me how am I doing, what's my reserve position, what's my claims in and out, how am I doing prescription drug, And that's what that is. That's just an example. Now, this is an example the city displays. They've been in for a long time, but you can't see it. But it would show you that their reserve position is over $6 million. You will know every month how are you sitting. And again, as I said, those reserves are your dollars. You can do with them whatever you want. I always give the example of Hanover Park up north by me. They've been in for a long time. They built a brand new police station. They did some bond issuance. They drew $1 million of the reserve position out to pay off the new police station. So when I literally say you could do whatever you want, you could. When CMT's here talking about sewer lining, which we did sewer lining in Park Ridge, I know about the Advantage, and you have a capital plan and something happens, we've got a sinkhole, what can we do? We have the money, oh my gosh, we got $500,000 sitting with the IPBC, give me $175 so I can do my sewer lining project, send a memo, blah, 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 here it comes.
So Blue Cross Blue Shield and or United Healthcare are just a reinsurance vehicle?
No, that's your provider. Yeah, so the two carriers from a medical perspective are United Healthcare and Blue Cross Blue Shield. And depending upon, I know there's some gentlemen here, I think, that are kind of in the industry, but depending upon where you are in the state, the network's going to be a little bit better. So like the Quad Cities area, most of them tend to be United Healthcare. Right. You guys are Blue Cross, so going from one to the other, but everybody takes a look at that. Some places may be in the network and some aren't, et cetera, but those are the two main health insurance carriers.
So you utilize their networks?
Correct.
You have guarantee fund protection?
Above 35, there's insurance that kicks in. Fixed cost, above 125, there's insurance kicks in. What we tell everybody, it gets municipal groups out of the risk business. Your job's not to be in the risk business. Your job's to be out of the risk business. And that's what the structure of the IPBC does. So that's kind of the last example. I'll be honest. I'm just trying. I really feel like I've talked too much, but I just was here to kind of introduce and talk to you about the concept of cooperative schooling, et cetera.
Who comes up with the renewal? Is that developed by an actuary with the IPBC?
Gallagher does it. We do our own underwriting. So, and we talk about transparency and data. Your renewal is based on a rolling 24 months of claims experience. Remember, I told you get data every month. Every month, you're getting a rolling 24 months of claims experience. You know now, and the municipality will know with pretty good certainty where you're going to land. And so that's always getting access to that data.
And that'll be done by Gallagher?
It's done by Gallagher. Matter of fact, the IPBC has a website, and staff's given give me a login. And if you want to pull down the 400, 500-page packet, you can. But what do most people do, most administrators or treasurers, that dashboard example I gave, here's my one-page summary. Give it to the oversight committee every quarter so we know how we're doing. But you get access to all that stuff.
Gallagher make a fee or commission off this?
We're the broker of record, so all of that is embedded into the rate. So yes, of course, we get paid. The rates you pay cover the fee to Gallagher, what the executive director makes, stop loss insurance. When you get a rate. If we were to take your plan, which would be the recommendation at this point, we could take your plan. Okay, what's it mean? Sounds great. Come on, Hamilton. What's our plan look like? What's it mean? We take that. We give you a rate. We give you a rate. That rate is all in. What I mean by that is everything I just said. Whatever. And we're transparent. You want to know what Gallagher makes? There it is. It's completely transparent. What does the executive director make? What's stop loss insurance? What's our EAP program? If you don't have that,
really purchasing insurance from the Blues, we're purchasing their network.
Bingo. You got it. Yeah, bingo. Well said. Yep. Yeah, and again, because that's why we use the analogy of no longer a customer of an insurance company. You're now an owner partner. So,
how does Gallagher feel about with the new administration and the new rules that are coming down the pipe, association plans?
Yeah. So of course, we know anything that's going to change in the marketplace is going to impact everybody. Sure. Right? We know that. So it doesn't matter if we're in the IPBC cooperative or if you guys are on your own. There's going to be an impact to everybody. So there's lots of things that we've talked about, with staff here about even plans for those that are Medicare eligible that still remain on your plan. There's a lower cost alternative for those retirees because you're required under IMRF to get insurance till they're 65. That when you look at the analysis, they'll move off of your plan, go to the retiree plans, et cetera. So, all kinds of risk, you name it. I mean, anything that's that's health insurance and not health insurance for that matter. That it's all in. That kind of comes with it, if you will. That's what I like to say. So
the other key would be, how long has Gallagher been involved with? I know they've been around since 70, and Gallagher's done cooperatives since 79. How long have you guys been together?
Who's the you guys you're talking
about? IPBC.
So Gallagher has been the broker of IPBC since the 70s, since the inception. There are, I'm trying to think, the last RFP because it's the IPBC board, right? We work for the board. The last RFP they went out for brokerage services was 3.5 years ago. So they also, at times, based upon the direction of the board, they'll go out for proposals. Things I've even talked about, but I'll just do some quick hitters. The other thing, too, that you're going to get the advantage of with Gallagher, again, besides the wonderful service and individuals you have down here at Springfield, but the individuals that work on the IPBC, all, meaning the service team, all we work on is public sector business. So that's why I think they bring a Sean in, who's an elected official and has been through this thing, whatever. In addition, you're also assigned a 3-person dedicated service team. All they work on is public sector business. So now, when you get those, right, public sector, we tend to be a little bit different at times. When you get those public sector-centric questions, there isn't anything that we can't answer. And that's from employees having an issue or administrations having an issue with something, whatever. So you're assigned all those individuals.
What does the growth look like over the last 10 years? From that piece?
Well, I'd have to pull the data to give you the last 10. I know the last 5 is we've pretty much doubled in size. So again, 5 years ago, 60 to 70. We're now at 140, I would say. That's municipal members, because I think I've given you the spectrum. We have some that have 5 employees versus some that have, 1,100, let's say.
Are your plans required to be ACA compliant?
Yeah, there's no ifs, ands, or bones about it, unfortunately. So, well, I say fortunately or unfortunately, it's a different discussion for a different day. Sure. But of course, everything we do is compliant, et cetera. So
what type of on the initial sign up, what type of rate reduction were you generally seeing?
Everybody's different, and the reason I'm not saying that as a teaser is because it's all based on your plan design. So I go back to, there's 400 different plan designs, so not everybody has the same rate. So the closest example that I can think of is the city of Princeton, which is, again, north. They had about 80 employees. You guys are like in the 60, 70 range. They were in I'll say a bad network, just use it that way, up in northern Illinois. When we looked at their plan design, then the next thing that we do is we give them a 5-year projection. We take their history and project it forward 5 years. Then we take what the 5-year renewal history in IPBC is, which we know, project that forward. Their 5-year savings is over $2 million. It's not unique, of course. I mean, that's a good savings, but we could have another group that maybe has same size as you. Maybe their 5-year savings is $500,000. So everybody's different. It's based upon plan design. That's why it's hard for me to say off the top of my head. We want to take a look at your Blue Cross plan design. We give it to our underwriting. We do all our underwriting and say, price this out in the IPBC as is, and what would the rates look like?
Well, so do you ever see an increase?
So, yeah, sometimes, yeah. And the other thing, too, is when we would be giving a prospective member a rate, we're giving you your rate at your next renewal. The carriers only let you come in on anniversary dates. So say your anniversary date is 1/1 of January 1st. So we'd be giving you a rate based upon what's your data look like, and what would your rate be 1/1 of 19. So a true apples to apples is what's your rate going to be 1/1 of 19, and if we don't know that, what you're not going to know, we try to look at your history to say what have you been tracking for the past 3 years or 5 years, etc. And because of your size, which could be an advantage or a disadvantage, we don't look at any of your claims data. All we look at is your plan design and your census. That's it. Because, to be honest, because of your size, you don't get access to claims data because you're less than 100. So even if we wanted to get it, you don't get it. You have no idea what you're tracking and what you're doing. So.
And you do have HMO options as well?
We do, yeah. And just because you don't have one now doesn't mean you can't turn something on. Just because you don't have a plan design now doesn't mean you can't turn something on. Another great example. Some municipal members will come in and then they'll say, okay, now that I'm in, and now that I get access to everybody's data, show me some municipalities in my area that are about my size. Maybe I want to have a second plan design, a third plan design, you know, a plan with an HSA component. All these things that you can start, because you can access to everybody's data. So you can start looking at that. So to try to keep it, I don't know what the right word is, but we in my opinion, where municipalities makes it a little squishy, is if they try to change plan design at the same time they're coming in, they're not getting a true representation of what it means. So we tell everybody, keep everything as it is. Port yourself over once you look at the rates. Is it good for you or is it not good for you? We don't know that. And then when you get over, then start looking at some comparison data. Look at the groups that are in your area. Or, again, I can't speak if we're at a public meeting, the prospects that are in your area that are also in some stage of coming in. I just can't disclose that right now. So, but in this area, we drew a 15-mile radius around Springfield, 3, 4, 5 at some level of discussion. I just don't want to disclose that. So sure. It's a snowball effect, you know. And again, for me, take it from the guy that dreamed. You know, that's the thing. I mean, I'm just here to tell you. I mean, I moved my plan over, built up over $500,000 in 2 years. It's moved my renewals from double digits to an average of 2 to 3. So, because I was tracking a little bit higher, that's all. But,
well, thank you. Any more?
you have questions? The copy of this presentation, we'll get you some copies. I'll leave a stack of my business cards. That's my. If you got any questions, just please let me know. But
appreciate it.
Thanks, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Can you just join at any time if we were to do this?
Say that again, sorry.
It takes 1 year, you said, or a couple months?
It takes 9 to 12 months. So the IPBC, the last thing we want is a unsuccessful implementation. Mm-hmm. So the IPBC board requires 90 days pre-renewal date. So in your case, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think the renewal date is 1/1, I believe. Is that right? July. But this would be under half hour. That's not go there. You guys have the ability to come in on one day. It's just the way it is. There's all these what ifs. The carriers start all these what if rules, and it really makes it difficult if you're less than 100 for various reasons. Okay? Mm-hmm. So you guys would have the ability to come into the IPBC by 1/1, which means it'd be 90 days before that. And most groups start looking at this 6 to 12 months in advance. That's what ends up happening. So you and the other 15-ish that we're talking to right now, we're all looking for entry at 1/1. So, okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Go back up. Resolution adding 2 public members and appointing Paul Packelhofer and Mark Clayton to the Utility Oversight Subcommittee. I have a motion to bring that.
Make that motion.
Trustee Mann made the motion to discuss.
Second.
Second by.
Yeah. Do we have to make motions? In the
No.
That's
Okay.
what I thought.
No, yeah.
So discussion.
Yeah, just discussion. And we'll need to, since we dissolved the committee, this whole resolution will go on. We're going to have to now recreate it.
Sure. So we have a proposed resolution that was sent out, so that'll change a little bit because it'll recreate the committee. We didn't mention meeting dates because it's kind of one of those things that we'll do, you know, a month or we'll call a special meeting. It's kind of going to be as needed.
Well, we've already set the calendar for the year, which they're out there. So we'll have to synchronize with the calendar before we can start changing things.
Well, the calendar is set for something that's just dissolved. So for a new thing, we'll set the calendar, and we had talked about having, quarterly meetings set and being able to call special meetings if they're needed.
Yeah, that's fine.
Chairman Gerger, could you go over, I know we've had, have we had 3 or 4 meetings of the utility oversight? Today, I can't remember how many we've had. So, we've had, some good updates from CMT, Bill Brown, and Lee Bloom, our rep at SSWC, has come in to date. Could you go over your vision for how this moves forward?
Can I answer those last few names again?
Well, we haven't had a meeting, so I'm sure he has regular contact with Pat.
Yeah, every week.
Yeah. So the vision for this and the reason it was kind of changed was Paul and I, or Nina and I, or Paul and Nina weren't able to have conversations outside the committee. So, we had, it'd be beneficial to have conversations outside that committee. So we needed it to be of 5. The other thing is, I ran on, and I think other trustees ran on a transparency deal. And I thought no better way to be more transparent than include 2 citizens. And that way we could have discussions. And the other thing would be is to have, a productive conversation and not take up the entire committee, the whole meeting with that, and have a little bit more back and forth with the citizens. And I thought it went really well, and kind of how I envisioned it the last meeting we had. So it was unfortunate we haven't had any more of those meetings, but there is a plan to, I'd like to start them back up.
One of the concerns I have, and Pat, you can tell me if this is the case, what does Bill Brown charge to go to those meetings?
I'm not sure right off the top of my head what his hourly rate is, but
Because it's not free, obviously.
Oh, no,
He
no.
gets paid to go to that meeting.
he does.
Yeah.
He does.
So, I mean,
But
that's,
there's a value to that.
there is, but, to have him go to that meeting and then 1 week later go, or however much time later, come here and essentially say the same thing twice. I don't know that that value is there to pay him twice to say the same thing twice.
I thought you were asking how much does he charge to go to the South Sangamon meetings, but you were talking about the utility oversight.
Yes.
He would charge his regular hourly rate. So if he's here an hour, hour and a half,
So
he would charge that time.
just to address that, he's been the one, and if we did call him before that committee, we definitely could update the board on what he said, and he wouldn't have to come to this one. He hasn't been to one of these for a while because we haven't needed him.
But then there hasn't been a whole lot of changes out of the plan.
Correct.
Yeah.
But we can always update the board as to what he said too, and if we know he's going to be there, you'll see it on the agenda. You're more than welcome to show up to that meeting as well, and then he wouldn't have to update us twice. We wouldn't ask Jim to be here, and we've only had Bill at one meeting, and we're really only going to call him in when we really have some questions that are pressing.
And the other concern I had was the appointing of members, specific members by resolution. The appointment powers are, the mayor is supposed to appoint people. And to me, this is taking away that power. And I believe it says it in state statute that the executive of whatever, whether it's a city, a town, has the appointment powers. And this to me takes away those appointment powers by listing specific names in the resolution.
Well, with this one, Trustee Gerger's the chair of both the subcommittee and the committee of the whole.
But the mayor is still the village president, which is over all of those. The village board. It's over both of those committees. Because this is just an ad hoc committee. It's not a standing committee.
It's going to be.
Is there a difference between? I mean, is there a legal precedence here? Are we?
Trustee Matt's correct that the municipal code does provide that the village president, does have that appointment authority of officers. What has been a little different about this is you guys have created, this committee of the whole, which is this kind of committee of the board, and we have treated this as a subcommittee of the committee of the whole. So it's, you're kind of right, kind of wrong, type of situation. It's unusual. That I don't know that, if, we were to take this up to the courts, that the courts would say, no, this can't be done this way, because this is kind of a committee of your village board committee. So I think there's some discretion in how you want to set that up.
But was the committee of the whole not created out of the village board?
Yes.
So it's in essence a subcommittee of village board.
Yes.
However, we created it as a ad hoc.
Well, not a subcommittee, I think I just have that language, but yeah, I think it's a formal committee. But go ahead.
So, Jeff, you think we have legal footing to be able to do this?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't looked into big details about it, and I could certainly do that. But the way I read this as you guys created a committee, I think it's unusual for the village president not to be on the committee of the whole, in my experience. So you guys have created a committee where the village president is not on it; it's just the trustees.
Not you guys.
Well, right.
That was formed prior to this board.
Right. It's not you guys. I'm just saying that the village is. So the village created a committee or a committee of the whole that does not include the village president. So then this committee of the whole then is drilling down and saying, I want to look specifically a little closer at these issues. It would seem to be within the purview of that committee to do that.
So, Trustee Mao, were you on the board when the village board formed the committee of the whole?
Was I on there?
Okay. Yes, that was the last board. And did you support that?
I don't know.
So, so you started the precedent of it.
I could help you guys out a little bit. We do have precedent for subcommittees not being appointed by the village president. The Public Properties Committee, they had subcommittees, sub-subcommittees, and those were all just people that volunteered, and they all worked amongst themselves. I don't think Dave appointed all of those people to those committees.
Someone was the chair of those committees, right? Like the park.
Well, people were coming in and volunteering. The next thing you know, they were on the sub-subcommittee. So the village has done that in the past.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, but we created that as an ad hoc so we could change it as needed. However, the issue arose, like Trustee Gerger stated.
The utility subcommittee?
Yes.
Yeah, it was an ad hoc.
It was created as an ad hoc so we could change it when needed as the issues have arisen. So,
I think the big thing with this committee is transparency. That's what we ran on. And nothing lends to be more transparent than adding up two public members, I would think. If you don't want to support it, that's fine. But
and it's not about the public members or who the members are, in my opinion. It's the appointment of those.
Mm-hmm.
This really matter who gets the credit as long as the people that vote you.
It's not the credit that I'm concerned about. It's how it's being appointed.
I can see that, Matt. I see where we're treading in a gray area, but I personally think that we're in the right. Even that is the right. That is the mayor's right to appoint people to certain committees. This being a subcommittee of the committee of the whole is kind of
it's definitely a committee that if we see is not working and it's not being transparent, it's not providing any value, we'll do away with it.
The only thing that
to change it again.
The only thing that I've seen that you guys haven't done that has kind of been past practice, at least for the last couple of years, is to ask for volunteers to serve on that.
Sure.
Look at their resumes and then choose from that group instead of just throwing two names out right off the bat.
I remember going through 15 or 20 different resumes from committee members, which I think is great because it shows that amount of interest. And, if we want to do that, I think it's great that we see who all is interested in doing this. And, I don't see why we should just limit it to X, Y, and Z, but, open it and see who all is interested and maybe what kind of experiences or things in their personal background that they may have knowledge of or experience in that we don't have.
Sure. The two individuals that were chosen were Mr. Packelhofer is here tonight. I have the utmost respect for him. I think he sees things in a very level playing field and is very fair and honest and would be an asset. The other individuals, Mr. Clayton. Mr. Clayton has a finance background. I think where anything could be helped is in the financing part. And these are discussions for that committee. But I just think they both add value. And if people don't think they add value, then we can vote down the resolution and we can go back to the drawing board.
I think we made good choices. Which might count. Otherwise, I'll jump in and go like this.
And Brett, my comment earlier did not mean that either of those gentlemen
Agreed. Yeah, no,
do a good job.
understood.
No.
I agree.
Chairman, one other thing I would say in other situations where we've had, sometimes when you'll have citizens appointed to a committee like this where there might be sensitive information, sometimes we'll include provisions about obviously to keep things confidential, those types of things.
I would recommend adding that.
Could be,
yeah.
Some other provisions like that you might want to consider adding.
Could you give me some language for that?
Sure.
Yeah, that'd be perfect.
And Brett, just for minutes purposes, is this resolution, is the intention of this conversation to take the resolution to the regular board in 2 weeks?
Correct.
Well, and I guess the one, I know you and I talked this afternoon, one of the things is I want to make sure there is a true goal that you guys are headed to, and hopefully we're still moving forward to, get the best quality of water for the best price that we can.
Absolutely.
My other concern is, are we paying additional engineering, potentially twice?
And we will do everything we can to not do that.
And then, what sort of value does this committee, ad hoc committee, adds that we could not bring to the committee of the whole? And I realize that, yes, we can have for the committee of the whole on the agenda a standing item for this, and yes, those may become long meetings.
And the problem with the committee of the whole that I saw was it's not only would it become a long meeting, but there's no interaction,
And I guess I would somewhat disagree. I do believe with the committee of the whole, we have had some of that interaction. Maybe not to the level that you guys have, but I do believe that we have had that interaction, and I'll give you credit for that, for the committee of the whole. So, those are some concerns that I have.
So the value I saw in it is even when we're up here at the committee of the whole, we just have so much on the agenda. A lot of times it's hard for us to really dive into, the concerns and really have those conversations that we had. That last meeting we had was really good, and I thought productive and showed that, the direction and kind of why I was wanting to continue on.
And I guess one question, for you and probably more for Jeff, with us dissolving the committee, before this can actually move forward or before this can go the way it is, it needs to be completely rewritten, to recreate that.
Correct. Yeah, so I would say if there's a consensus here, what we would do is bring back a resolution at the next meeting, reconstituting the
so it should reconstitute the committee
and appointing the members.
Correct. And then have some of the confidential provisions.
And the same, just like what we did before with what the purpose of the committee is, and we can put it there, that it should be quarterly, whatever, and other meetings as called by the chair.
That would be so. If you could get me language in the next week, share it with everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
We can have some back and forth, so we have a good resolution when it comes to the meeting next time.
You may want to consider putting terms on there too, and then stagger it. And you can always go back and reappoint a person that wants to continue doing it. But it does give you a chance to get someone off of the committee.
Sure.
If you don't want them on that committee anymore too.
We could do, we could do Mr. Clayton as a year term and do Mr. Pacquiao for his 2 years. That's okay.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing you could do is, since it's set up as an ad hoc committee, maybe I've also set these up to where maybe you set them up for a period of time, maybe a year or something, and then you just renew them and renew with those appointments or other appointments, and you see it's continuing to be a need, keep it in existence as an ad hoc committee.
And Brett, you may also want to give the trustees that are on it terms, so that way you can rotate a new person in, somebody comes off, a new person in, somebody comes off as you go through the years too.
Email me and we'll.
Okay. So a couple different options.
Yeah. I don't know if we want to go in this step tonight, but do we want to talk about what that next commit? Because I don't know if if the citizens who have attended have appreciated that meeting or not. I thought there was some fruitful discussions there, but what the agenda topic or the main focus would be at the next meeting. I know we're forming it too, so it's a little bit into the weeds a little bit, but would that be helpful to get that consensus from the board as we move forward? Yeah, we could, the committee of the whole could discuss that. But I'd like to get a meeting set up as quick as we can once it's.
I have one on the agenda for April the 9th at 7:30.
So if we did April the 9th, if we formed it the 27th, we could do it April 9th.
Just an FYI, the Parks and Recs last night, they did vote to do theirs opposite of that, so they're doing theirs in May. So they did open up to every other one.
So we could do 6.
You guys would be every 2 months. They were discussing that your potential schedule for yours would run.
So we could do 6 on the 9th. Is that right, Pat?
That would be great. 7:30 is.
Yeah, so
it's a hardship for some people.
We can switch that to 6.
Okay.
I'll be under that calendar, right? Just so I can schedule.
Yeah.
How was supposed to get with you, Pat?
Okay.
All right. This is my heavy time for the year for high school baseball.
Sure. 6 o'clock tough for you?
Yeah, on the 9th, I might hurt. So,
Does 7:30 work for that meeting?
shouldn't take long, 2 hours. Yeah.
All right. So maybe on the 9th we keep it at 7:30, but then.
Or you could have a meeting on site. Riverton ball game.
We go with the ball game? I like baseball.
Playing the hot dogs.
Who are they playing?
I don't know.
How do you FOIA a ball game? all the conversations.
So
Darlene will have a video. So
maybe the 9th, and we'll set that at the next meeting. Maybe set the
for 7:30,
April 9th, 7:30.
All right.
Thank you, Paul.
All right, we'll get together. We'll bring back a proposal, and if obviously you can amend it if you want changes to it, or if it's not, just
perfect.
Forward on the 26th or not the 26th.
Thank you. All right, next. Ordinance authorizing the disposal of certain items of personal property.
It probably shouldn't have said personal property. Probably should have said village property.
Is there a barrel?
What we've accumulated over the years, pieces of equipment, old trucks, old plows, old generators. It sat down in our yard back behind our electric shop for a long time. And the guys, they wanted to clean the place up. And they said, what can we do with this stuff? I said, well, let's get rid of it. Nobody uses it. It sat there for years. So we knew we were going to take this garage across the street. So I had them put everything in there. If you guys pass this, those are the items that we'll sell. We'll either go with a online bidding for it, or we'll get an auctioneer to come in here and auction the items off. Then once those are disposed of, then our street department thinks that they're able to take that building down, and then we'll take it down to a concrete slab and then figure out what we're going to do with it from there.
So you're going to, because I know at one point we said we were going to sell the building outright. Whoever bought it took it down, took the poles, took everything. So now we're going to use our time and equipment to take it down?
Well, the reason that fell through is that gentleman couldn't provide us with insurance. And I was hesitant on letting someone tackle that building, start on it, go off and leave, sheet metal swinging in the air, not knowing what they cut structure-wise out. If they weren't about to provide me with insurance that they could take the thing down, they didn't want us to cover it.
So Pat, when our employees take it down, are we then looking to auction it off at some point, saying, are we looking just to scrap it?
Scrap it.
Okay.
And if somebody requests the scrap, if they want to put a dumpster out there and allow us to put the aluminum in one and the wood in the other, we can work out something with them on that. But I think our own crews will take it down.
Bless you.
And if one of these items does not sell because not all of it is in working condition, then we'll just scrap it.
Scrap it.
Trash. So try and sell it.
So there will be an ordinance for that at the next meeting.
Okay. Ordinance amending the village code provisions to increase the village manager's spending authority and bid limit to the statutory limit of $25,000.
This is
that wasn't my idea.
This is something that Trustee Fountain had questioned. There was a change in the municipal code to increase the limit for bids from 20 to 25,000. In our village code, that is tied to the city manager, to the village manager's spending authorities. So we've got a couple of different options. We can incorporate. We've got three options really. We could do nothing, just because the
state law
went up doesn't mean we have to go up. We can still waive the bidding requirements should you desire in any given situation, or we can raise the spending requirements bidding from 20 to 25, or we can also raise 20 to 25 and coincide that with the village manager's spending authority. So those are really the options on the table.
And, I came across this as I was doing my other job, the local roads manual, that I came across that, this had been recently passed because we've got the 20,000 for townships, 30,000 for counties, and then municipalities used to be 20,000. They have recently increased that to 25. So I thought, okay, do we want to go ahead and adjust our village code to meet current state statutes?
Has this been a problem for you, Pat? Is that extra $5,000 going to assist in any manner that you've got?
No. If I needed to buy something that was $5,000 more, I would just come and ask you guys for it. So example is the PA system. It was close to being around 25,000.
Right.
Sure. But it's still something that I think you guys ought to give me some input on whether you want it or not. So if it's those type of items, I'm going to bring those to you. But if it means I could hire a contractor to go do a piece of work or something like that, and his estimate to do the work is $22,000, I could hire him if this has changed to go do that work instead of coming back and asking you guys to okay that.
And I would say, the best practice, especially when it's feasible, is to go out for bids, regardless of the dollar amount. But, in some cases, it's just not feasible to go out for a bid, for certain items at the lower cost. So,
does the board have an appetite for this ordinance?
Like Pat said, if it's a difference between that window there, I think we should give him the window of the 5,000 in case there are situations. I mean, we can't sit here and say it'll never happen, and we can't, say it will happen. Just give him that opportunity. If the work needs done, he can do it.
Trustee Churchill?
If we start, not gonna hurt my feelings either way. Okay.
Well, that's the first I had heard of it. So it's one of those things too that and we make this decision not for Pat, it's for anybody that gets this job down the road.
Because I trust you,
Well, today.
Like I said, the thing is you're not voting tonight.
Yeah,
you're just
right.
asking to move it on
Yeah.
to the board.
And remember,
if you want to do a little more research on it and stuff, you can, and then you can vote yea or nay on that.
Right.
But he's just looking for a motion to get it to the board.
To the
I'd
board.
like the motion to move it forward.
Well, you haven't had a chance to say.
Or Ryan.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm going to do some research on it.
Yeah. I would like to look.
Can I just say one other thing to think about is sometimes people will say, we could separate it out and treat the spending authority different than what our bidding requirements are. And sometimes people will say the bid requirement just tied to the statute so that if it goes up more, your bid requirement goes up more. If it goes down, it goes down. So that's there's a lot of different options.
So we could leave the bid, we could put the bid at 25,000.
Yes.
And we could leave Pat's spending authority at
We
20.
it'll take a little bit more massaging of our current code, but yeah, we can do that.
I could be wrong, but I think prior to the 20,000, it was 10,000 for, I believe, all local agencies. And I think that was probably 15 plus years ago when that occurred. So I don't see this being something every year they're going to keep increasing.
What have you seen in the other municipalities?
To be honest, I haven't had anybody else that's made this change yet. Are they all
Still at the lower amount?
Yeah.
But they may not have read it like Terry.
Well, I think everybody's aware of it. I guess from my perspective, you still have the authority to waive bidding if you want to. So, I don't know that 20 to 25,000 has been considered a big change. If it was maybe to 50,000, that's a real difference.
Right.
25,000 is not a big difference with a lot of projects. You're usually either have to bid something or not.
That's kind of why I'm. I read this when it was posted. When Terry put it, I've been kind of indifferent to it. I mean, if Pat has seen a big need that he needed 5,000 extra, but he's brought everything to us that was even close, even things below that amount.
I can't think of anything that's come across my desk that's even been close other than possibly the PA system.
Oh, because even stuff that is around 20 you've brought to our attention before, too.
Some of them, yeah.
Yeah.
But like if the thing that is a perfect example, electric equipment. It's very expensive. Those guys will buy a few big rolls of it. They'll buy a group of transformers. Well, instead of having to come and bring that to the board, now Shane buys them in $20,000 increments instead of 25.
Sure.
Would he be able to get 2 orders of 25 in a year? Or does he have to do 3 orders of 20? So that's probably a perfect example of where it would help, because electric equipment is expensive. So if you're buying transformers, pedestals, rolls of wire, I can sign up to a certain amount. But other than that,
for me, it's just weighing. Does not moving it mean it's prohibitive for you to do your role effectively versus us being able to weigh in on whatever that project would be by.
If it's a contract that costs $23,000, it stops him. Yes, and the work needs done.
it just causes a couple of weeks delay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, motion to discuss it at the next board meeting, or what's the motion?
I think the
I
motion.
mean, I made a motion. There needs to be a second. Just
What was your motion?
to move it forward.
Move it forward?
Yes.
All right.
If they want to, they can.
Okay. I didn't know if had to if I was just.
Well, I think if there's clear consensus, I think it's fine. But if there's kind of a question as to whether or not you want to move it forward.
Okay, so Matt made the motion.
Is not
Is there a second?
I would second it.
Okay.
What was your motion?
To move the issue forward to discussion.
Move forward to the village board meeting for discussion. 2 weeks.
Executive session. He's getting goofy.
So we should vote on this one.
Yes.
So, Amy?
Trustee Mann.
Wait a minute, what are we voting?
This is the vote to move it forward.
This is just to
discussion.
get it on the agenda.
Yeah, we'll move it forward.
Okay, Trustee Gerb.
Moving it forward.
Fountain.
Yes.
Trustee Moe.
Yes.
Trustee Churchill.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Village manager update. Do you have anything else to add?
No, not really. I was going to tell you about the viaduct and how disappointing that was.
Yeah.
I did not plan on spending that much money on something like that. It was a good catch by Barry in the street department. He noticed that sidewalk had sunk, and he had slapjackers come in and put their stuff underneath there. He thought it was settled, and less than 2 weeks later come back, and it's worse than what it was then. So that's when we got CMT.
I drove by when Barry was working on it. I think one weekend day. And
oh yeah,
we saw the sidewalk closed.
It had so much sand because I think back in those days that's what they packed around when they excavated for sewer lines. Concrete.
We still do.
Yeah, everything just was compacted around it with sand, and then when it cracks, all that sand, as the water comes and washes down through the earth, it washes that sand directly.
And I know some of the things that Jim had talked to me about. There's some things that probably should have been done to construct it properly, but just were not caught during the construction of that project. But
So next is public comments. There's none written down, but if anybody has one.
I have one. Regarding like the whole water thing, one of the things about the utility meeting was we actually have an update from the building theoretically. He said we're going to, which we're not going to do anything here at all. So one of the questions was, where are we at on the utility? Where are we at on the engineering contract with South Stainman that's put up for renewal? That was something from October, November. We still never heard. Are they figuring that out? They find that for the year.
So that's something that we'll plan on, and at least maybe if Lee can't be here, he can give us a little update.
Mm-hmm.
He knows already. He said he doesn't.
The thing is there's not a whole lot going on out there.
The answer was on until October. What did they do with the management contract? Are they figuring it out?
They haven't decided on that yet. The chloramines are still supposed to be on schedule for
spring.
Spring, they say. I'm guessing. Well, at the last meeting that I went out there, it was an engineering meeting, and the plans are still to go forward with the chloramines.
What's engineering? Is that what's all in this month? Because they're not getting updates on those things.
There was a special meeting that was just for, they had one commissioner, and it was all the engineering folks out there to talk about the projects and see where they're at.
So where's the update to citizens related to the inputs? What's that they want to have discussion?
I've updated all the board members, but some of that stuff is sensitive for negotiations, so I don't have an update for the public right now.
So chloramine is thinking public?
No, I told you chloramines are moving forward.
Well, because I asked. That's what I told you. It's not something that can wrong with it. I'm giving some part of your update.
But it's never changed. We talked to them about switching to chloramines, and they agreed to do that. It just hasn't happened yet.
They didn't say it at the last public meeting, though. That's what I'm saying. Is they said they hadn't committed to it. But you're saying they do. In your personally, what two different answers?
Well,
so
I don't understand why, if I'm sitting in the meeting and I said, are you guys going to switch to chloramines? And they say yes. And then if I don't go to the next meeting, they turn around and say, no, we're not doing chloramines. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's our understanding they are switching to chloramines.
Yes.
Well, I understand, but the question was asked at the last meeting.
Right.
Definite, and they said, no, it's not something that we've committed to yet. So that was a direct question that they were asked. So that's what my confusion is that he said at another meeting that they are saying. So why would they?
We can find out. Maybe ask.
A month or so about one of the meetings here.
Do you know who answered that they weren't moving to chloramines? Do you remember? Do you remember, Darlene?
Well, Joe just doesn't commit to any real answer.
All right.
I can give you an update on that.
Joel is no longer, yeah.
Well, it's well, he doesn't say too much.
Well, he resigned from his, I think he resigned from his trustee position with Berlin, and then therefore his position with the South St. So
It happened this week, I think.
I think he gave the word to leave. So New Berlin will be appointing a new commissioner.
So we'll find out. Darlene, if you could tell me who, so was it Joel that said we're not moving to him?
No, he just never commits to saying yes to things.
Okay.
Are.
So they didn't say no. All right. From our understanding,
Lee Bloom is the chairman out there now. So I think you'll get some more straight answers.
yeah, and it's our understanding they're on track to move to chloramines in the spring. But that is exactly something that that commission.
They're on their way here.
The money is there. If the money is not there, then they won't be.
Right, but yes, that'll be things that commission actually will try to tackle, giving better updates. Okay. Motion to adjourn to
Closed session.
Closed session.
Yes, to discuss the semi-annual review of the closed session meeting minutes, collective bargaining, and personnel matter, performance personnel matter.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
No business after.
No business after.
So
I'll make that motion.
So Trustee Mann made the motion.
I'll second.
Trustee Fountain seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Ayes have it.